Hello, and welcome to Midnight Tales, a space where everyone can immerse themselves in peace and enchantment before drifting off to sleep. Tonight, we'll explore another captivating story that invites calm and lightness, helping you rest and recharge. But first, let's take a moment to gently prepare our bodies and minds for a soothing, restorative night's sleep. Make yourself comfortable, and with each slow inhale and long exhale, allow any cares from the day to slip away. It's not always easy to detach from the hustle and mental overload, especially before bed. However, remember this: the less we worry about how quickly we'll fall asleep, the easier it is for our minds to release any tension. Let the rhythm of your breathing carry away lingering worries, and let the story you're about to hear guide you into deep relaxation. Now, close your eyes and allow the magical atmosphere to softly envelop you. Enjoy the story, and may you find peaceful, restful sleep here on Midnight Tales. The gentle patter of raindrops dances against the bedroom window, crafting a soothing rhythm for Lily as she drifts from dreams to the waking world in the soft light of morning. She listens closely to each drop as it lightly splashes on the glass, counting them one by one until they blend into a symphony too vast to measure. With a smile, she lets her thoughts wander, imagining the sound like grains of rice tumbling into a jar. This is the song of the season, she reflects, enjoying the rain's cadence and the subtle rustling of leaves swaying outside. Envisioning the vibrant colors of autumn and the slow approach of year's end, Lily stretches her arms high above her head. Although shadows still cloak the world beyond her window, it's time for her to rise. Soon, she will don her hat and coat, setting off to the bakery to greet the day's first customers. Even though her day begins earlier than that of most neighbors, Lily finds joy in her routine. She cherishes her work and eagerly awaits placing the first pastries into the oven and brewing that first pot of coffee. The smiles of familiar faces make those early hours worthwhile, ensuring she can look forward to a peaceful night when evening falls. Sitting up in bed, she uncovers her legs and slips her feet into the cozy slippers waiting by her bedside before rising with a gentle yawn. Quietly padding into the kitchen, Lily savors this serene hour when night slowly surrenders to dawn. Through the window, she catches sight of morning light, casting a soft glow on the gray facade of the neighboring house, where its occupant still dreams peacefully. He usually awakens later in the morning, relishing his cup of coffee before tending to his garden with care for every flower and shrub. Lily admires his beautiful plants, feeling thankful for the warmth and friendship shared among those who live on her street. As she approaches the kitchen counter, Lily prepares a cup of strong black tea, her favorite way to start the day. Adding a splash of milk, she watches as it swirls and mingles with the dark brew. Carrying her steaming cup to her usual spot beneath the kitchen window, she settles into her wooden chair and takes that first sip. The rich flavor envelops her senses like warm embers on a chilly day, bringing comfort and contentment as she welcomes another beautiful morning. As Lily gazes through the window at the sky, she observes a thick blanket of clouds gathering overhead, casting a shadow over the town. She senses that today will likely be a day filled with rain. Yet this doesn't trouble her. Autumn showers are a familiar sight, and she cherishes the distinct feelings that this season brings. Without the rain, she wouldn't have the chance to don her cozy sweaters, slip into her beloved rubber boots, wrap herself in soft scarves, or wield her cheerful umbrella. Rain can be quite delightful when one is bundled up with warm clothing and a steaming cup of tea. After savoring the last sip of her tea and rinsing her cup in the sink, she leaves it to dry on a small bamboo rack. With that done, she heads to her bedroom to prepare for the day ahead. Stealing one last glance at her inviting bed, she moves toward the front door, knowing there will be time to rest later. In the hallway, she carefully places her felt hat upon her head and wraps her woolen scarf around her neck before grabbing her bright yellow umbrella. As she clicks the door shut behind her, she steps out onto the walkway and opens the umbrella, which unfurls into a vibrant canopy above her. Out of the corner of her eye, she spots a familiar little white cat peering from the window of her neighbor's house to the right. The cat belongs to a kind woman who often styles her hair in a bun. The feline watches Lily pass by with an inscrutable expression. Lily can't help but smile and wave at it. Aside from the fluffy companion, the neighborhood remains peacefully quiet. As she strolls along, Lily passes charming homes with darkened windows still dreaming in slumber. A few porch lights flicker gently above brick front steps, while street lamps cast a warm yellow glow that mingles with the rainwater pooling on the pavement. She listens to the rhythmic patter of raindrops against her umbrella's fabric. Underneath its sunny yellow canopy, she feels safe and dry, a comforting echo of childhood days spent building forts from pillows and blankets. Snuggled beneath layers of cotton and fleece back then, it felt as if the entire world had shrunk down into a serene haven just for her. Lily beams at the cherished memory, using her free hand to snugly wrap her woolen scarf around herself. She gracefully leaps over a puddle on her left and skillfully navigates around another on her right as she makes her way down the hill toward the bakery's parking lot. In the distance, the shop's vibrantly painted door stands out against the dreary backdrop. Swirls of green, blue, yellow, purple, and orange paint twirl across the wooden facade, inviting everyone who approaches. She fondly recalls that summer evening long ago when she painted the door. With brush in hand, she let her imagination flow freely, blending a rainbow of colors into spiraling designs that adorned the wood. When she finished, she pushed her hair out of her eyes and noticed her overalls and hands were speckled with dried paint. A laugh escaped her lips as she reveled in the joy of adding a touch of beauty to the everyday world, even if it was just in a small way. Now, Lily retrieves her brass keys and inserts one into the lock of the door. With a creak, it opens to reveal the dim interior of the still slumbering bakery. She shakes off her umbrella and lightly taps a switch with her fingertip. The lights flicker to life, and a sigh of contentment escapes her. It feels wonderful to be back in the bakery. As she steps inside, the comforting sense of flour, sugar, and espresso beans envelop her from the kitchen. Remnants of yesterday's baking linger in the air. There's even a subtle hint of toasted pecans from the pie she prepared just before closing. In her mind, Lily lists all the delightful treats she plans to create today as she prepares for opening time. She turns on the oven to let it warm up. First on her agenda are cinnamon rolls, as is tradition, but this time she thinks excitedly about adding some toasted pecans for an extra crunch. She gathers all the metal parts of the espresso machine that she left drying on the rack overnight. Pumpkin pie is also on today's menu. She remembers how each year at this time, customers eagerly inquire about its availability. Some prefer ordering by the slice, while others look forward to taking home an entire pie to share with their loved ones. Lily strolls over to the snug seating area and gently bends down against the wall. Her fingers brush against a plug, which she carefully connects to the socket. Instantly, strands of fairy lights begin to twinkle above her, casting a soft glow. For a brief moment, she pauses, allowing her thoughts to settle. Taking a deep breath, she gazes up at the shimmering lights. As she exhales slowly, a wave of tranquility envelops her. It's essential to take time to appreciate the little things, she muses, for these moments are what make life truly enchanting. With the lights sparkling overhead, Lily makes her way to the counter and enters the petite, open kitchen area. From this vantage point, she can see the entire shop and easily transition from her baking station to the espresso machine whenever customers arrive. She retrieves 2 large white buckets filled with dough from beneath the counter. The sticky mixture has been rising overnight in its cozy spot. Pouring it onto the wooden surface, she flattens it out before sprinkling it generously with cinnamon sugar and toasted pecans. Using just her fingertips, she rolls it into a thick log and slices it into discs, adorned with delicate spirals of filling. After dusting each piece with more cinnamon sugar, she places the tray into the oven to bake. Moments later, the delightful scent of freshly baked cinnamon rolls fills the air of the bakery. The warm aroma mingles with the comforting heat from the oven, making Lily feel completely at home. A little while after that, the oven beeps cheerfully. She removes the tray of rolls and sets it on a wire rack to cool. Now it's time for her next creation, pie. She heads toward the pantry, nestled at the back of the kitchen, and opens its door wide. To Lily, this space is like her own enchanted room, brimming with all sorts of ingredients and supplies she could ever need. Tubs of flour and baking powder are stacked beneath towering canisters, filled with spices and flavor extracts. A jar of vanilla pods rests on the highest shelf alongside star anise, fresh cloves, poppy seeds, onion powder, roasted garlic, and chili flakes. And there, on the bottom shelf, tucked away towards the back, sit fresh sugar pumpkins sourced from a nearby farm. Lily selects a sturdy, medium-sized pumpkin and cradles it under her arm. In a large metal mixing bowl, she gathers jars of spices, along with a few wooden spoons, balancing them all with the grace of someone accustomed to carrying more than they ought to. She carefully places her collection of ingredients onto the counter. First on her agenda is roasting the pumpkin. With precision, she slices the gourd in half and scoops out its stringy insides and seeds. Then she positions both halves face down on a baking tray and slides them into the oven to cook and soften. While the oven works its magic on the pumpkin, Lily turns her attention to making the crust. There are numerous types of crusts she could choose from, but her favorite is graham cracker crust. This delightful recipe comes from her Aunt Lucy, who always baked many pies for all the children during holiday gatherings. Lily retrieves a plastic sleeve of graham crackers from their blue cardboard box and places it on the counter. She drapes a tea towel over the package and takes out her heavy rolling pin. Gently, she rolls it back and forth over the towel, crushing the crackers beneath it. She moves the pin side to side, feeling the smooth wooden handles glide under her palms as the crackers crunch and snap under pressure. Once they resemble rough sand in texture, she opens the corners of the bag and pours its contents into a mixing bowl, causing a little puff of graham cracker dust to tickle her nose. Next, Lily strolls over to the large silver refrigerator and retrieves a stick of butter. She unwraps its waxy covering and drops it into a mixing cup before popping it into the microwave for just a few seconds until it melts. Pouring the warm butter into the bowl with the crumbs, she adds a generous amount of sugar and cinnamon. Using a long wooden spoon, she stirs everything together until it feels like damp sand. With care, she spreads this mixture evenly across the bottom and sides of a shallow pie dish. Methodically working over the crust, she ensures it doesn't crack at the edges, pushing and pressing just right until it forms an even brown base. The oven beeps once more to signal it's time. Lily dons her thick, colorful oven mitts and carefully lifts out the tray of pumpkin before sliding in her pie dish. Setting the timer for 12 minutes, she knows that will be just enough time to give the crust a little crunch so that it can support the creamy filling to come. At that moment, a soft creak fills the air as the wooden door swings open. The first customer of the day has arrived. It's Seamus, the gentle old man who enjoys savoring his newspaper alongside a steaming cup of coffee and a cinnamon roll. However, today is special. Today, Lily is baking pumpkin pie. He greets her with a warm smile as she pours a delicate stream of coffee into his mug. After so many years of visiting her shop, he no longer needs to place an order. By the time he approaches the counter to wish her a good morning, Lily has already prepared his breakfast. "Ah, I can smell pumpkin pie in the air," he remarks, taking hold of his coffee. She beams at him and assures him that she'll bring out a slice as soon as it's ready. Grateful, he settles into his usual spot by the window, unfolding the crisp pages of the morning newspaper. With his presence, it truly feels like the day has officially begun. Lily finds joy in working while Seamus is in the bakery. He has become an integral part of this cozy haven alongside her other loyal patrons. Together, they form a community, almost like family, and they all consider Rainy Day Bakery their home. Glancing at the timer, Lily realizes that the crust is just about done. She slips on her oven mitts and carefully retrieves the dish from the oven. The aroma wafting through the air is warm, sweet, and inviting. Just divine, as Seamus would say. Now turning her focus to the pumpkin filling, she takes a spoon and scoops out the vibrant orange flesh from its skin, dropping it into a large bowl. With a wooden spoon in hand, she mashes it until it reaches a smooth and creamy texture. Next, she fetches eggs and heavy cream from the refrigerator and begins cracking each egg one by one into the pumpkin mixture. Then she pours in the cream, watching its milky whiteness cascade through valleys of orange puree like tiny shimmering rivers. Lily measures generous spoonfuls of cinnamon, ground ginger, nutmeg, cloves, and cardamom. These spices evoke all the warmth and familiarity of this special season. The scent fills the air, wrapping around her like a cozy hug filled with memories of family and togetherness. As she mixes, she grates just a hint of lemon zest into the filling to brighten its flavor with a little sparkle. With one final stir, the mixture becomes perfectly smooth and creamy. Carefully, she pours the filling into the crust, using a spatula to ensure not a single drop is wasted. Then, with great care, she transports the wobbly pie to the oven and gently places it on the rack. With a timer set, she takes a moment to relax. Leaning back against her table, she gazes out over her shop. In one corner stands a bookshelf filled with little paperbacks and large art books left behind by visitors. Over the years, she has contributed a few mystery novels herself. After savoring their stories, she passes them on to bring joy to new readers. Nearby sits a charming hand-painted rocking chair for children that she discovered in a second-hand store long ago. It has become a canvas for young artists over time, adorned with flowers and bees, alongside squiggly lines and tiny scratches. The beep from the oven pulls Lily back to her baking task. The pie is ready. As she opens the oven door, a wave of warm air rushes towards her face, like a dragon's breath, carrying with it the delightful aroma of freshly baked pumpkin pie. She lifts the dish from the oven and sets it on the counter to cool, while she tidies up her mixing bowls, rolling pins, and measuring cups. By the window, Seamus can be seen eyeing the pie with curiosity. With a smile, Lily slices off a piece for him and decides to indulge herself as well by cutting an extra slice. After such a long morning, there's nothing better than sharing something sweet with an old friend. She carefully places each slice on a delicate white plate, topping them with a generous dollop of freshly whipped cream. As she carries the plates to the table by the window, she settles down across from Seamus. It smells delightful, just like it does every year, he comments, eagerly digging his fork into the rich filling. Lily takes her first bite, savoring the zesty pumpkin flavor that dances on her tongue. The taste is both lush and fragrant, wrapping her in a warm embrace of sweet spices. Perfect, she thinks. Absolutely perfect. As she enjoys her pie, Lily admires her snug little bakery. Seamus's smile warms her heart. Good friends make autumn days like this even more special, she muses. Her eyes drift to the twinkling fairy lights, the twinkle in rhythm with the gentle raindrops tapping against the window pane. These small touches truly make this place feel like home, Lily reflects. The bakery whispers stories of all its visitors, each one who has passed through its creaky wooden door. A contented smile spreads across her face as she realizes this is exactly where she is meant to be. Outside, Raindrops dance against the window near Lily's bed. Occasionally, a strong gust of wind makes the rain patter more fiercely against the glass. Nestled under her covers with her eyes closed, Lily listens to the storm's ever-changing symphony. It's going to be quite a blustery day, she thinks, cherishing these last few moments of warmth before rising in the morning. These are some of Lily's most treasured moments, when her thoughts drift dreamily and sleep still lingers in her mind. Soon enough, a yawn escapes her lips, prompting her to stretch her arms wide. She rotates her ankles gently in circles, preparing them for movement when she finally gets out of bed. Taking a deep breath, she exhales slowly, allowing herself to sink deeper into the softness of the sheets. Just a little longer, she whispers to herself, a soft smile gracing her lips. The rain continues to tap at the window in rhythmic waves, as if curtains of water are opening and closing in unison. Another strong gust of wind shakes the branches of the tree outside, sending a cascade of raindrops towards the house. Days like this fill Lily with excitement. When nature seems wild and unpredictable, it inspires a sense of spontaneity within her. With that thought in mind, she pushes herself up to sit on the edge of her bed and stands tall while glancing out at the world beyond her window. As always, the world outside remains cloaked in darkness. Lily rises earlier than most of her neighbors, determined to have the bakery ready and welcoming by the time others begin their day. She knows that the rest of the neighborhood is still nestled in slumber, with even the house cats likely curled up in their fluffy beds or resting on pillows by windowsills, patiently awaiting the dawn. Slipping her feet into her soft slippers, she tiptoes into the kitchen, and the first thing she does is set the kettle on the stove for a steaming cup of robust tea. Leaning against the counter, she listens to the gentle bubbling of water as it heats. From a drawer, Lily pulls out a small metal tea ball and carefully fills it with fragrant strands of loose-leaf black tea. Each leaf settles at an odd angle inside the ball, so she meticulously twists on the top to ensure none escape. With a tiny metal hook and chain, she suspends the tea ball over her cup. Once the water reaches a boil, she pours it over the tea, watching as bubbles rise from within the metal sphere, causing it to bob slightly before settling at the bottom. A swirl of rich color unfurls from it, transforming the clear water into a warm hue. Lifting her cup to her nose, she inhales deeply. The scent of hot tea on a chilly morning brings her great joy. In a moment of spontaneity, she opts to skip her usual splash of milk and savor it black today. Yet craving a touch of familiarity, she carries her cup to her favorite wooden seat beneath the kitchen window, her special spot for enjoying morning tea while gazing at her sleepy neighborhood through the glass. Some mornings, soft rays of sunlight would already be breaking through clouds by this hour, but today's sky hangs heavy and dark. A blanket of gray clouds looms low over town, with rain falling steadily, only occasionally interrupted by playful gusts of wind that sway and bend the branches of a tree across the street. It's definitely coat weather today, she muses to herself. Sipping her tea slowly, each drop warms her a little more inside. She wiggles her toes within her cozy slippers, delighting in the tingling sensation that dances across her skin. This is truly a perfectly cozy morning, she thinks contentedly. Once she had finished her tea, Lily rinsed out her cup and placed it on a bamboo rack by the sink to dry. Even though the sun was hidden from view, Lily sensed it was time to prepare for her journey to the bakery. With countless mornings spent opening her shop, she felt as if she possessed an inner clock that guided her perfectly. She instinctively knew when to finish her tea and when to step outside so she could reach the bakery right on schedule. Selecting a gray shirt that suited the overcast weather, Lily made her way to her bedroom to get dressed. She slipped into her thick wool coat, fastening the buttons snugly, and wrapped a cozy cable-knit scarf around her neck, a cherished gift from Rose, one of her devoted customers, 2 winters prior. This scarf held a special place in Lily's heart, reminding her of the friendships she had nurtured and bringing warmth not just to her body, but also to her spirit each time she wore it. With a scarf snugly covering her chin and a pair of oversized gloves pulled from her coat pockets, Lily grabbed her faithful yellow umbrella before stepping outside. After closing the door behind her, she paused on the front step to open the umbrella. Despite the gusty wind trying to thwart her efforts, she managed to unfurl the canopy, adding a cheerful splash of yellow against the dreary morning sky. As she stepped onto the sidewalk, she shielded herself from the heavy raindrops that danced upon the umbrella's surface. In passing by her neighbor's window, Lily noticed their small white cat, the one who usually greeted her, still fast asleep in its cozy nook. Normally so alert and curious, today it seemed content to enjoy a lazy morning instead. Watching the cat peacefully doze behind the glass brought a fleeting wish for the comfort of her own bed. Yet soon after, thoughts of her loyal customers filled her with joy, inspiring her to brave any weather and unlock the doors of Rainy Day Bakery each day. As she strolls along the slick pavement towards town, she carefully navigates around the large puddles that dot her path. The sidewalk glimmers softly beneath the streetlights, though the sun remains hidden from view. Today feels like it will be one of those gloomy mornings, she reflects. Up ahead, she catches sight of the bakery door, painted in bright hues that stand out against the muted light, beckoning all who pass by. It serves as a refuge on such a dreary day, where visitors can step inside to enjoy a warm drink, indulge in a slice of pie or cinnamon roll, and lose themselves in an enchanting book. Some guests prefer to chat, savoring moments with both new acquaintances and old friends in this cherished space. She realizes that her bakery has truly woven itself into the fabric of the community, a home away from home where everyone can find something to lift their spirits. Lost in thought, a sudden gust of wind turns her umbrella inside out. Startled, Lily quickly makes her way to the vibrant door, fumbling with her brass keys to unlock it. Holding on to her now warped umbrella, she pushes the door open, revealing the quiet darkness of the bakery within. After wiping her feet on the mat to leave behind as little moisture as possible, Lily flips on the lights, illuminating the cozy shop. She inspects her yellow umbrella and notices its bent frame and the broken slider that no longer keeps its canopy aloft. With a resigned sigh, she places it down at the entrance, grateful for its years of service, but aware that it's time for a new one. Planning to spend her entire day in the bakery, Lily wonders when she'll find time to shop for an umbrella replacement. She anticipates a wet walk home later, but knows she can handle whatever weather comes her way and resolves to embrace it fully. Taking a deep breath to center herself, she focuses on her tasks ahead while inhaling the familiar aromas of espresso beans, flour, and pecans that linger from last night's baking. On most days, she begins with cinnamon rolls. However, today sparks a sense of spontaneity within her, perhaps inspired by the wind or the rhythmic patter of rain outside. Feeling adventurous, Lily makes her way to the cozy seating area and bends down to plug in a string of fairy lights. In an instant, they twinkle above her like stars in the night sky. With renewed energy bubbling inside her, she returns to the pantry and surveys the shelves brimming with baking supplies and ingredients stacked high. What shall I bake today? She muses softly to herself. Just 2 days ago, she baked a delightful blueberry pie, followed by lemon squares and pecan rolls the day before that, and chocolate muffins the week prior. Each of these treats has won the hearts of her customers. Yet, as Lily reflects on her own happiness, she finds herself wondering what might truly bring her joy. A few years back, while exploring the family home, she discovered her grandmother's cherished cookbook nestled on a shelf. As she flipped through its pages, she came across a recipe she had never tried before. Intrigued by its promise, she marked the page with a small scrap of paper tucked into the spine. Now, that beloved cookbook rests on a dark wooden shelf against the back wall of the pantry. With a smile lighting up her face, Lily approaches the book and turns to the marked page. The recipe is simply titled Baked Apples. In the margins, yellowed with age, she recognizes her grandmother's familiar handwriting. One note reads, "Perfect for a chilly autumn day." Scattered throughout the page are her grandmother's thoughtful corrections, little tips and adjustments to improve the dish's outcome. This is what I'll bake today, Lily decides with determination. It feels like the right moment to try something new. The ingredients list is refreshingly simple: butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, rolled oats, chopped pecans, and several large apples. Lily gathers everything she needs and brings it back behind the counter. She sets out the butter to soften and then turns her attention to preparing the nuts. After roughly chopping them, she sets them aside before measuring out the oats. Finally, she switches on the oven and allows it to preheat. The next step in the recipe is slightly more complex. She must core each apple carefully to create a pocket for the filling without splitting them apart. Next to her instructions, her grandmother had written, "Use paring knife and spoon." With care, Lily takes her paring knife and gently pierces near the stem of the first apple. She skillfully cuts a circle around the core while twisting it slightly to help detach it from the base. With a gentle tug, it comes free, now resembling a hollowed-out pumpkin without its seeds. Setting that apple aside, she moves on to the next one. Before long, this task becomes second nature. She swiftly removes each core in one smooth motion until she has a lovely line of apples ready for their delicious filling. Next, it was time to prepare the delightful filling. Lily gathered the softened butter, sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg, blending them together with a wooden spoon. Once the spices were harmoniously combined, she added in the oats and chopped pecans. With care, she used a spoon to generously fill each apple with the mixture until they were brimming. After finishing with the apples, she arranged them neatly in ceramic pie dishes. Following her grandmother's wise advice, she poured just enough water into each dish to cover the bottoms of the apples, ensuring they wouldn't dry out or burn. At last, she was ready to slide them into the oven. Donning thick oven mitts, she placed the pie dishes on the metal racks, closed the oven door gently, and set the timer to remind her when it was time to check on her creations. As she tidied up her workspace, a familiar sound caught her attention. The creak of the bakery door opening. It was Rose, one of her beloved customers, who had become a dear friend over the years. Rose greeted Lily with a warm smile, hung her scarf on a chair, and made her way to the counter where a steaming cup of coffee awaited her. After expressing her gratitude with a cheerful grin, Rose asked about Lily's day. With excitement bubbling over, Lily shared stories about baking apples using her grandmother's cherished recipe and invited Rose to be her very first taste tester. They chatted about the blustery autumn weather outside. Lily mentioned her broken umbrella and her uncertainty about replacing it before heading home. Rose offered reassuring words and gave Lily's arm a gentle pat before settling down at a table with her coffee. Not long after, another regular customer named Seamus walked in. Lily served him his coffee and promised him a baked apple as soon as they were ready. Throughout the morning, one by one, all of Lily's loyal customers arrived. Some seemed to have braved the storm outside with rain-drenched coats, while others sought refuge from the drizzle under folded newspapers or shook out their umbrellas as they entered. Lily warmly attended to each of them, serving an array of coffees, teas, and delectable pastries with joy in her heart. As the timer chimed, Lily turned away from the cozy seating area and focused on the oven. With great care, she pulled out the pie dishes, brimming with apples, now tender and syrupy. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted Rose engaging with various customers. A fleeting curiosity about their morning chatter crossed her mind, but soon her attention returned to her own task. Gently, she lifted the soft apples from the water-filled dishes and arranged them on individual plates. Making her way to the refrigerator, she retrieved a carton of whipping cream. Pouring some into a bowl, she sprinkled it with sugar before using a handheld mixer to whip it into fluffy cream. The mixer buzzed softly as it spun, and Lily caught sight of Rose stepping through the door. But she hasn't even tasted her baked apple yet, Lily mused. Once soft peaks formed in a cream, she ceased mixing. With a metal spoon in hand, Lily added a generous dollop of whipped cream atop each apple and drizzled her famous caramel sauce over them. The warm scent of baked apples, mingled with rich cream, wafted through the air, creating an inviting atmosphere full of comfort. She carried the first plate over to Seamus and set it down in front of him before serving the family tucked away in the corner, along with the woman engrossed in her newspaper and the man who usually ordered cranberry scones. As she distributed the delicious apples, Lily noticed Rose re-entering with a long, slender package wrapped in shiny paper. Rose waved at her, prompting Lily to walk over. "This is for you," Rose said as she handed over the gift. Attached was a handwritten note that read, "To Lily, from all your friends at the Rainy Day Bakery." Eagerly unwrapping it, Lily discovered a vibrant new umbrella inside. Bright green adorned with cheerful yellow polka dots and featuring a handle shaped like a duck's head. "This might just be the happiest umbrella I've ever seen," she exclaimed to Rose as she admired its playful design. "Thank you so much." Looking around, Lily noticed that other customers were also wearing joyful smiles. It dawned on her that this thoughtful gift was from all of them, a token from her dear friends. A wave of warmth and happiness washed over her. This place and these people truly made her feel at home. "I have something for you, too," she said playfully to Rose as she handed over one of the last two baked apples, made from her grandmother's cherished recipe. The other one she decided to keep for herself. Seated together by the window, they gaze out at the dreary, rainy day filled with gray skies and gusty winds. Yet, within the cozy confines of the Rainy Day Bakery, warmth, safety, and love envelop everyone inside. Lily takes a spoon to savor the soft apple filling. Rich and gooey, perfectly spiced and delightfully sweet. Her heart swells with joy, knowing her grandmother had guided her in making it. And now she gets to share this treat with her closest friends. When Lily awakens, the first sound that greets her is the gentle patter of rain against her window. The rain falls steadily, unaccompanied by wind, creating a soothing rhythm as droplets dance on the ground below. She stretches luxuriously, arms reaching wide and legs extending long, before sinking back into her soft bed, relishing these tranquil moments before the bustle of her day begins. Today marks the annual cookie decorating party at the bakery, a highlight for Lily. Though she baked several batches of sugar cookies yesterday, there remains much to do before her guests arrive later this morning. This season is one of her favorites. The bakery radiates warmth and laughter as friends and neighbors gather for Cookie Day. After one last stretch, Lily rises from her bed, slips on her fuzzy slippers, and retrieves her robe from its hook by the door. Wrapped snugly in its embrace, she tiptoes quietly toward the kitchen. Her morning routine is second nature to her. First, she fills a kettle with water and sets it to boil before preparing a cup of cranberry orange spiced black tea using a metal tea ball. This delightful brew is a winter staple, especially when enjoyed steaming hot. Once she adds a splash of milk to her cup, she carries it over to her wooden window seat. Outside, the dark morning reveals a faint glow from a neighbor's nightlight across the street. Most still remain nestled in their dreams. As the one entrusted with opening the bakery each day, Lily has grown accustomed to rising before anyone else. She cherishes this role, starting others' days with warmth from coffee and sweetness from treats. Peering out at the gloomy sky above, she remembers that snow is expected soon. Gently touching the cool glass of the window with a smile, she muses that it just needs to drop a little more in temperature for snowflakes to begin their descent. For Lily, snowy days sprinkle an extra touch of magic throughout the bakery. From her spot behind the counter, Lily has a perfect view of the street through the large windows. She delights in watching the snow pile up on the sidewalks, where children frolic and craft snowmen beneath the glow of street lamps. While rain has always brought her joy, Lily believes that everyone could use a sprinkle of extra enchantment from time to time. After finishing her tea, she rinses her cup and sets it on the bamboo rack to dry before heading back to her bedroom to get dressed. Each year during the cookie party, Lily dons the same delightful sweater she received as a Christmas gift many years ago. This cozy garment showcases a cheerful snowman surrounded by towering trees, all crafted from a patchwork of squares, and its silly grin never fails to lift her spirits. Her customers seem to share in her fondness for the sweater whenever she wears it. Once she's ready, with her coat, scarf, hat, and gloves snugly in place, Lily picks up her new umbrella, a vibrant green adorned with yellow polka dots, and a handle shaped like a duck's head. She loops the cord around her wrist before stepping out of her bedroom and gently closing the door behind her, stepping into the soft morning rain. The rain has lightened since Lily was nestled in bed. Now it falls as a gentle drizzle, yet she still relishes the warm, dry shelter of her umbrella. As she strolls down the street, she opens it overhead and listens to the soothing rhythm of raindrops tapping against its cheerful fabric. This umbrella brings fond memories of her dear friends and loyal customers at the bakery who gifted it to her after her old one succumbed to an autumn storm. Such acts of kindness often linger in her thoughts, especially on rainy mornings like this one, as she gazes up through the colorful polka dots marked with streaks of rain. As she walks along, Lily notices something different at her neighbor's window, where there's usually a white cat peering out. Today, there's a sleek black cat instead. Its watchful eyes scan the scene outside. Behind this newcomer, she spots a flicker of white and realizes it belongs to the familiar feline she often sees on her way to work. Watching as both cats readjust and curl up together like two cozy semicircles, Lily muses to herself. How lovely for the white cat to have found a new friend. Now they can keep each other company. With a bright smile, Lily strolls towards the bakery, the familiar sight of its vibrant, multicolored door coming into view. The first soft glimmers of dawn begin to paint the horizon in gentle shades of gray, revealing the various hand-painted colors of the door. Upon arriving at the bakery, she unlocks the door and steps inside, immediately enveloped by the comforting warmth within. After giving her umbrella a gentle shake to remove any raindrops and leaving it to dry in the entryway, Lily wipes her feet on the mat and takes a deep breath, transitioning from the cool morning air to the cozy interior. The delightful scent of roasted coffee beans mingles with a hint of burned sugar from yesterday's cookies, evoking memories of sweet toasted marshmallows. She moves forward and switches on the lights, illuminating every corner of the bakery. As she approaches the seating area, She bends down to plug in a string of fairy lights that twinkle overhead. Ready to embark on her day, she typically begins by preparing a generous batch of sticky cinnamon rolls. However, today is slightly different. She still needs to whip up a couple more batches of cookies to ensure there's an ample supply for later. Heading towards the pantry, Lily gathers all the dry ingredients she will need. She is set to make double batches of chocolate chip cookies and stained glass sugar cookies. First, she pulls out flour, white sugar, brown sugar, vanilla extract, black treacle, and chocolate chips. Next, she finds cornstarch and salt before retrieving a bag of colorful hard candies meant for melting into glass panes for her stained glass cookies. From the refrigerator, she grabs baking soda and eggs. Meanwhile, the butter has been softening on the countertop to reach just the right texture. Lily organizes everything by batch before mixing her dry and wet ingredients in separate bowls. Once everything is prepared, she combines them until the dough reaches that perfect consistency. For her chocolate chip cookies, she carefully folds in the chips to keep them intact before using an ice cream scoop to portion out equal amounts onto a tray and sliding it into the oven. As for her stained glass cookies, she wraps up that dough and places it in the refrigerator to chill, allowing it to firm up for easier rolling and cutting into shapes later on. As the delightful scent of freshly baked cookies begins to fill the air, her first customer of the day strolls in. It's Seamus, as always, arriving for his morning coffee and a sweet indulgence. While he usually opts for a cinnamon roll on cookie day, he eagerly anticipates being the first to sample whatever Lily has prepared, playfully ensuring that they've turned out just right with a glimmer in his eye. Lily has his coffee ready before he even reaches the counter, sliding it smoothly across the polished wooden surface. Seamus adjusts the newspaper tucked under his arm and picks up the warm cup. "What flavors are you baking this year?" he asks, glancing toward the oven with anticipation. "Chocolate chip, plain sugar, and stained glass," Lily replies cheerfully. "Well then, I suppose I'll have to taste one of each, if you don't mind," he says with a grin. "After all, it's my duty to ensure they're perfect, isn't it?" Lily laughs softly and nods. "Of course," she replies. "Cookie day wouldn't be complete without you." Seamus settles by the window, taking a seat that offers a lovely view of the street sprinkled with puddles. As the first light of dawn begins to brighten the sky behind thick clouds, though the sun hasn't yet made its appearance, the clouds shift to a gentler shade of gray. Just then, the timer chimes, signaling that the chocolate chip cookies are ready to come out of the oven. Donning her oven mitts, Lily opens the door and is greeted by a warm rush of air as she peers inside. The cookies are perfectly fluffy and a deep golden brown, with gooey chocolate chips that hold their shape beautifully. Carefully, she lifts the tray and sets it on a wire rack to cool. The enchanting aroma of freshly baked cookies envelops the bakery, a sweet fragrance that Lily believes transforms any space into a cozy home. Before long, it's time for her to take the sugar cookie dough out of the refrigerator. The dough feels cold and firm as she retrieves it. She sets it down on her wooden table and reaches for her rolling pin. With graceful, deliberate motions. She rolls the dough to just the right thickness. Next, she uses an assortment of cookie cutters, square, rectangular, and circular, to create various shapes. Then, she brings out a second set of cutters to carve out smaller designs within the larger cookies, including delightful shapes like bells, trees, ornaments, snowflakes, and more. Carefully, she arranges the cookies on a prepared baking sheet. Following this, she sorts colorful hard candy into separate bags by color and crushes them into tiny bits with her rolling pin. Using a teaspoon, she sprinkles these sugary fragments into the cutout centers of the cookies. When baked, the candy will melt beautifully to form a stained glass effect framed by cookie windows. Once everything is ready, she slides the trays into the oven to bake. For a brief moment, Lily allows herself to unwind and savor the day unfolding around her. Outside, despite the persistent drizzle, the sky brightens with promise. People begin to venture out from their homes. Some stroll leisurely, while others drive by. A few familiar faces enter the bakery. Among them is Rose, a regular customer, along with Gwen Spencer and her two lively twin boys. Lily can tell them apart only because one wears glasses while the other does not. Otherwise, they are perfectly matched in red shirts, blue jeans, and cozy green socks. At just 2 years old, the twins love exploring every nook of the bakery, playing in the kids' corner and greeting fellow visitors with cheerful smiles. They also know that whenever they visit Lily's bakery, there's always a delightful, sweet treat waiting just for them. As Lily gazes at the festive scene, she realizes there's still some work to be done before the cookie party kicks off. With a quick wipe of her hands on her apron, she heads over to the pantry, eager to collect all the supplies for decorating cookies. Inside, she discovers sprinkles in every imaginable shape and hue, slender, flat ones, along with shimmering round balls in gold and silver. She also finds jars filled with colorful decorative sugar, green, blue, red, yellow, and purple. Chocolate curls, coconut flakes, and tins brimming with crushed peppermint candy catch her eye as well. Gathering everything into a large basket, she carries it out to the seating area. Once there, she spreads an array of decorations across each table, adding tubes of icing sugar and vibrant gel alongside shakers filled with powdered sugar. From the very back of the pantry, she retrieves a large metal tree with ribbed branches designed to hold ornaments. But instead of ornaments, this tree will showcase as many beautifully decorated cookies as it can. When her timer chimes, Lily rushes back to the oven and carefully pulls out the stained glass cookies. A smile lights up her face. They are simply perfect. Each cookie boasts a glossy center in bright shades of red, blue, orange, yellow, or green. As they cool on the counter, she fetches the plain sugar cookies she made the day before. These delightful treats have already been cut into fun shapes: snow people, evergreen trees, snowflakes, and stars. One by one, she artfully arranges all types of cookies onto large silver platters. Each table will have its own selection, so guests can choose which ones they wish to decorate. Before carrying out the larger trays, though, Lily has a special delivery to make. She places one of each kind of cookie onto a small plate and sets it down right in front of Seamus. His face lights up with a broad smile as he lifts a chocolate chip cookie toward his mouth. Taking a bite, he lets out a satisfied sigh. "I believe these are the best cookies you've ever baked," he declares. "In fact, I think they're absolutely perfect." This is something he tells her every year about each batch of cookies. A warm feeling fills Lily's heart as she reflects on the joy that comes from creating something delightful. Every time she bakes a cinnamon roll or croissant or any cookie that brings someone happiness, it adds a little extra brightness to her day. As Lily returned to the counter, she carefully gathered the larger trays and placed them on the tables. A quick glance at the clock revealed that it was nearly time for her guests to arrive. Just then, as if on cue, the door swung open and the first visitors stepped inside, a new family in town. They looked around with a charming shyness. Lily greeted them with a warm wave, inviting them to choose any table and start whenever they wished. Their grateful smiles lit up the room as they settled at a spot close to the entrance. Next came an elderly couple who were in town visiting their grandchildren. They always made it a point to stop by whenever they could. After exchanging cheerful hellos with Seamus, they found a cozy seat nearby. One by one, familiar faces from the community filled Lily's bakery, young and old, alone or accompanied by loved ones, all gathering for the annual cookie decorating party. Laughter and chatter filled the air as everyone took their places around tables brimming with colorful supplies, accompanied by the delightful sounds of sprinkles being shaken and icing tubes being squeezed. Savoring the warm atmosphere, Lily felt an overwhelming sense of happiness wash over her. There was truly no better place than here, surrounded by the warmth and togetherness of her community. As she glanced out the window, she noticed delicate snowflakes beginning to fall softly to the ground. A child spotted them too. "Look, it's snowing," she exclaimed, catching her mother's attention. The room fell silent as everyone turned to marvel at the gentle snowfall blanketing everything outside. Lily found herself wondering if her neighbors' cats were peering out their window in awe of the winter scene as well. Whether it was the joy of being among friends in her bakery or the magic of winter that captivated her, she couldn't quite tell. Yet she felt an irresistible urge to step outside and let the snow touch her skin, even if just for a fleeting moment. With quiet determination, she moved around the counter, opened the door, and stepped into the crisp air, gazing up at the sky above. Spreading her arms wide, she twirled slowly, delighting in how each snowflake landed softly on her face. With a playful grin, she stuck out her tongue to catch one midair, relishing this whimsical moment. Taking in her surroundings, she admired the tranquil beauty of this snowy day. The world seemed wrapped in a hushed enchantment beneath its white blanket. In the distance, a crow left its own footprints in the fresh snow that mirrored Lily's boot prints perfectly. With a gentle wave goodbye to both the crow and the sparkling snowflakes above, she turned back towards her cozy bakery, leaving behind the enchanting winter wonderland outside. Surrounded by cheerful chatter, people are delighting in the art of cookie decorating. Lily observes palm-sized snowmen dressed in cozy scarves and hats, vibrant green trees embellished with colorful ornaments, and delicate white and blue snowflakes with intricately iced edges. There are also white candles flickering with soft yellow flames, stained glass cookies lightly dusted with powdered sugar and tied to ribbons, alongside chocolate chip cookies that bear the marks of a few bites taken. Some early decorators have begun hanging their cookie creations on a metal tree nestled in the corner. While many take their sweet treats home, several choose to leave one behind on the tree, where it will stay until the arrival of the new year. Lily reaches for a stained glass cookie, brings it close to her lips, takes a bite, and revels in the rich, buttery crumbs melting away in her mouth. The sweet candy glass at its center dances on her tongue. There's nothing quite like a freshly baked cookie, she muses. Throughout the day ahead, she plans to help her friends add their own creative touches to their cookies, and perhaps treat herself to an afternoon coffee. But for now, she stands contentedly, soaking in the festive spirit as gentle snowflakes fall outside the bakery window. The soft tapping against the glass rouses Lily from her thoughts. She keeps her eyes shut for a few precious moments longer, relishing the warmth of her cozy bed. Before she knows it, she drifts back into slumber, where the soothing sound of rain merges with images of wet streets and shimmering puddles. Gradually, her dreams fade away as reality pulls her back to her bedroom. With a smile gracing her face, Lily finally opens her eyes, thankful for those extra minutes of rest. Even now, she notices that the rain is beginning to quiet down. It might just stop altogether, she reflects while stretching her arms high above her head. She rotates her toes in gentle circles, feeling warmth spread through her ankles with each movement before swinging her legs off the side of the bed. After slipping into her snug slippers, Lily makes her way to the kitchen. Like most mornings, she sets the kettle on the stove for a delightful cup of tea. The gentle sound of bubbles forming within is both familiar and calming, creating a soothing backdrop in the serene stillness of the early hour. Bubbles and rain are the two constants that Lily cherishes at this time, giving her home a sense of warmth and comfort. As the sun remains hidden below the horizon, she reflects on the small yet significant joys in her life, while she carefully scoops dry tea leaves into a tall tea ball, twisting it shut. She hangs it from her mug's rim using a delicate chain. Once the water reaches a boil, Lily pours it over the leaves, watching as the hot liquid transforms into beautiful shades that dance around her mug as they steep. This detail brings her joy. No matter how many times she brews her tea, each morning reveals new hues and patterns. The process of making tea feels both familiar and refreshingly exciting to her. Adding a splash of milk to her brew, Lily carries her cup to her wooden window seat. Gazing through the glass, she takes in her neighborhood, still shrouded in darkness. The rain has eased off, leaving behind a gentle mist, and she can see wisps of fog curling in behind her neighbor's house. The man across the street tends to a magnificent garden during spring and summer. Even in autumn, his plants seem perfectly arranged. The fallen brown, red, and yellow leaves scattered across his lawn create an artistic splash of color against the lush green backdrop. At this early hour, he remains fast asleep like most of their neighbors. With a smile, Lily thinks to herself, I must be one of the earliest risers in town. Although running her bakery requires early mornings, Lily finds joy in ensuring that her customers have a warm place to start their day. Her eyes drift across the street to a freshly turned patch of soil. Realizing he must have planted bulbs yesterday sparks a thought in her mind. She should do the same. Next to the bakery lies a small garden where Lily has experimented with various crops over the years. From herbs to tomatoes and peppers, it is now transformed into a flower garden, or will become spring if she plants those bulbs soon enough. These bulbs rely on the cool autumn earth to stir from their slumber and take root for what's ahead. I must remember to bring them to the bakery today, she reminds herself gently. After enjoying her tea, Lily takes one last look out the window. The fog has begun to envelop the house across the street, a phenomenon she remembers being predicted. Foggy days have always delighted her, holding a certain magical quality, as if hidden wonders and realms of possibility are just beyond sight. This thought brings a smile to her face as she stands up, carries her mug to the sink, cleanses it, and allows it to air dry on a bamboo rack before making her way to the bedroom to get dressed. Today, she chooses a red shirt with cheerful yellow accents and thinks, on a gray day, I might as well brighten my outfit with a splash of color. By the front door, she finds a paper bag filled with flower bulbs waiting for her attention. The bulbs vary in texture from slightly firm to somewhat soft. Among them are daffodils, narcissus, and crocus that remind her of onions and garlic. The hyacinth bulbs, tinged with reddish-purple hues, conjure images of turnips. Lily puts on her coat, carefully slips the bag of bulbs into a roomy pocket, dons her hat and gloves, and secures her green and yellow polka dot umbrella around her wrist. As she opens the door, she pauses to take in the tranquil street outside, where the fog wraps everything in a gentle embrace, blurring the line between pavement and road in front of her home. She imagines the neighboring houses, peacefully resting within their soft gray cocoon. Taking a deep breath, Lily savors the crisp freshness of the air, cleansed by recent rain and fog. Feeling invigorated, she closes the door behind her and sets off on her walk. Small puddles dot the pavement, but are shallow enough not to obstruct her path. Her boots allow her to step over them with ease. Noticing how little water has gathered, she reflects. The rain last night must have been light and quick. Relishing the stroll to the bakery without needing her umbrella, Lily glances up at the gray sky, where fog dances around treetops, weaving through branches and leaves. She extends her hand into the mist, feeling droplets gather on her skin. Instead of wiping them on her coat, she brings her hands together, as if inviting moisture into her skin, like a soothing lotion. Finding comfort in this connection with nature, she delights in feeling one with the weather, trees, and sky around her. As Lily directs her gaze toward where her neighbor's home should stand, she can only make out the faint outline of the driveway, shrouded in a misty blanket of white and gray fog. Thoughts of her neighbor's two cats, a fluffy white one in a sleek black one drift into her mind. She imagines them curled up together in their favorite window nook, perhaps lost in dreams of sunlit summer afternoons and fragrant catnip. As she continues on her path, the rhythmic sound of her footsteps against the pavement fills the air, each tap amplified by the enveloping fog. Under this soft cover, every noise seems to resonate more clearly, enhancing her awareness of the world around her. It takes Lily a bit longer than usual to locate the bakery. The vibrant colors of its door peek through the swirling fog for just an instant before vanishing again. A smile spreads across her face. Even if she were unable to see it at all, she would still know it was there. After so many years of making the same walk every morning, she feels confident she could navigate it blindfolded. Yet, there's a comforting joy in spotting it, and knowing that soon she'll step inside to be embraced by familiar scents of coffee beans, sugar, and flour, while illuminating the twinkling fairy lights that will breathe life into her little shop. With a practiced motion, she retrieves her keys and finds the right one for the lock. Entering the bakery, she wipes her feet on the mat before flicking on the overhead lights. She takes off her coat and hangs it up carefully, leaving the bulbs tucked safely in its pocket. Before stepping behind the counter, she locates the end of the fairy light strand nestled in the seating area and plugs it in. They spring to life above her with a gentle flicker. That might just be my favorite moment of the day, she muses quietly to herself. The twinkling lights signal that she is home once more at the bakery. Feeling a wave of gratitude for this cherished space, she inhales deeply, savoring the deliciously familiar aromas that surround her. The coffee beans exude a rich yet robust scent. The flour carries a dusty quality that evokes memories of weekends spent baking delightful treats with her grandmother. And then there's the sweet aroma of sugar, slightly caramelized, that brings back fond recollections of fairs and holiday cookies shaped like trees and ornaments. As she exhales slowly, tension melts away from her muscles. She rolls her shoulders gently to warm them up before gliding behind the counter, ready to embrace another day filled with warmth and sweetness. Before leaving the bakery yesterday, she had set aside a cherished recipe for one of her favorite wintertime delights, fudge. The sight of the well-loved handwritten page, smeared with cocoa dust and slightly torn at one corner, instantly conjures up the rich, chocolatey flavor in her mind. Yes, she thinks to herself, this is precisely what I want to create today. One of the things she adores about this recipe is its simplicity, requiring only 2 essential ingredients: chocolate chips and sweetened condensed milk. Lily pauses for a moment, contemplating which fudge flavor she would like to prepare. Some of her loyal customers often request peppermint, so she decides to fetch some peppermint extract and a package of candy canes to crush on top. Rose has a fondness for hazelnut fudge, so she'll need whole hazelnuts for garnish. And finally, she's been craving rich orange chocolate, which she will make just for herself. Fortunately, she has some leftover candied orange peel that will add an extra zing. Venturing into the pantry, she finds her trusty double boiler, perfectly sized pans, wax paper, chocolate chips, sweetened condensed milk, and all the necessary flavorings and toppings. Carefully carrying them behind the counter, Lily admires her shiny silver double boiler, the secret to achieving flawlessly melted chocolate chips, just as her mother once taught her. Over the years, despite trying various bowls and methods, her mother's advice always lingered in her mind when it came time to open her own bakery. Thus, she had invested in her very own gleaming double boiler. Lily fills the bottom pot with water halfway and places the second pot on top before setting it on the stove. She pours a generous amount of chocolate chips into the upper pot. As the water beneath begins to warm up, steam rises gently to melt the chocolate evenly without burning it. With a wooden spoon in hand, she stirs the chips softly, watching as they transform from solid chunks into a smooth and gooey delight, swirling around in the pot. Before long, the chocolate chips transform into a velvety pool of melted goodness. As she adds the sweetened condensed milk, Lily stirs the mixture together until it's perfectly combined. For her peppermint fudge, she waits until the boiler is off the heat to mix in a spoonful of peppermint extract. The sharp and refreshing scent of peppermint fills the air, awakening her senses and bringing back memories of frosty winter days blanketed in snow. She quickly pours the warm chocolate mixture into a pan lined with wax paper before it begins to cool too much. The fudgy liquid cascades into the container like molten lava flowing through a rocky canyon, filling every nook and cranny. With her wooden spoon, she scrapes the sides of the pot to ensure not a single drop of fudge is wasted. Lifting the pan carefully, Lily gives it a gentle tap on the counter to help the mixture settle evenly. Now comes the fun part, adding the topping. She retrieves a sturdy rolling pin from a nearby drawer and unwraps several red and white candy canes, peeling away their plastic wrappers one by one. As she feels a slight stickiness on her fingers from the sugary treats, she places the candy canes in a bag nestled between two towels and rolls the pin back and forth over them. The soft crunching sounds signal that the candy is breaking into smaller pieces. Once they're crushed into tiny bits, she scoops some up in her hand and sprinkles them over the cooling fudge. The larger chunks will add a delightful crunch, while the finer pieces will impart an extra burst of peppermint flavor. With that done, Lily transfers the fudge to cooling racks, where it will rest until it's ready to be sliced and enjoyed. In the meantime, she cleans up her pot and prepares for her next two batches. Before starting again, she grates an entire orange to collect its fragrant zest. This zest, along with some orange oil, will infuse her fudge with a bright citrusy note. After melting another batch of chocolate chips and mixing them with milk, she stirs in both the zest and oil. The melted fudge glistens under the light as everything combines seamlessly into a smooth blend. Lily imagines how it will melt delightfully in her mouth with each bite. To finish off this batch, she decorates it with delicate curls of candied orange peel on top, gently pressing them down to secure them in place. She treats herself to a piece, relishing in the vibrant citrus flavor, beautifully balanced by rich sweetness. Now, it's time to whip up some hazelnut fudge. Just as Lily is about to warm the water on the stove, Rose appears from across the counter. "It's so foggy out there," she comments to Lily. She recounts how she felt a bit lost earlier that morning when leaving her house, initially convinced she had taken a wrong turn due to the dense fog enveloping her surroundings. Eventually, however, she caught sight of the bakery's twinkling lights in the distance, like guiding stars leading her through the haze to her beloved destination. Lily beams with delight as Rose shares her tale, eager to tell her about the hazelnut fudge they're making. "That's my absolute favorite," Rose exclaims, clapping her hands softly in excitement. Lily pours a warm cup of coffee for Rose, who finds a snug spot by the window. Returning to the stove, Lily prepares the double boiler and mixes together chocolate and milk just as she has done before. Once she takes it off the heat, she adds a splash of hazelnut flavoring along with crushed hazelnuts before pouring the mixture into a lined pan. To complete it, she carefully arranges whole hazelnuts in neat rows atop the fudge, giving each piece an added crunch and depth of flavor. As the delightful aroma of hazelnut fudge fills the air, mingling with hints of orange and peppermint, Lily notices Rose smiling contentedly. While they wait for the fudge to cool down, Lily decides it's a good moment to plant some bulbs. "It's a quiet day. I'll have a clear view of anyone coming in," she thinks to herself. She walks over to Rose and gently places a hand on her shoulder. "I'll be outside if you need anything," she reassures her friend. To Lily's surprise, Rose offers to lend a hand, a lovely chance for companionship in the garden. Although Lily enjoys spending time alone, tending to her plants, she always treasures moments shared with dear friends. After all these years, Rose has truly become one of those cherished friends in her life. Hand in hand, Lily and Rose approach the door, donning their coats and wrapping their scarves snugly around their necks as they step outside. In the quaint little garden, Lily pulls a bag of flower bulbs from her pocket, while Rose discovers a workbench nearby, where a few tools are neatly arranged. She finds a couple of trowels, and together they kneel on the cool earth, giggling as the damp soil seeps into their trousers, and begin to dig. As they work, memories of the different seasons spent at the bakery come flooding back. They recall the amusing mix-up when Max from the hardware store ordered 12 dozen cupcakes instead of just 2 for his daughter's birthday celebration, leading to a delightful few days of sharing cupcakes with everyone. Then there was that summer storm that washed out roads and left visitors stranded in town. The bakery became a haven as everyone came together to brew coffee, whip up snacks, and gather blankets and children's books to keep the unexpected guests cozy until the roads were cleared. "Do you remember all the wonderful moments we've shared here?" Rose asks with a smile. Lily nods in agreement as she gently presses soil around the last flower bulb. Stepping back, she takes a moment to admire their creation. Rose joins her side, and they stand together in peaceful silence, cherishing the years filled with laughter and love. Lily's eyes wander to the fairy lights, twinkling like tiny stars against the foggy evening sky. inviting those seeking solace to find refuge within, a bakery that welcomes all on rainy days.